Good day, welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. The death toll from a building collapse in Lagos, southwest Nigeria has risen to 34. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, confirmed the death toll as rescue operations ended officially on Wednesday night. A woman and her 6-month-old baby were among the dead. 13 people were, however, rescued alive. The 5-story building, which was under construction, collapsed at Lekki Phase 1 in Lagos. Lagos State officials say initial findings showed that the collapsed building exceeded the number of floors approved by authorities. Now, police officials have arrested the contractor handling the 5-story building which collapsed while still under construction in the Lekki area of Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. Police spokesperson in Lagos, Oladapo Badmus, confirmed this, adding that he was currently under investigation. He has been identified as Odofi Taiwo. 34 people have been confirmed dead, while 13 others were rescued alive. The Lagos State government has also suspended the building construction as investigations continue. Following preliminary investigations, officials say the collapsed building exceeded approved floors. The Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, has also inspected the collapsed building and others under construction in that area. Workers in Niger State Oil Company have suspended a strike action embarked upon after talks between trade unions and the Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kachiko. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, confirmed the news on Thursday. Labor unions in Nigeria's oil sector, the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas, NUPENG, and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSN, say the cancellation of the strike action is with immediate effect. The strike began on Wednesday over restructuring at NNPC by the federal government. NUPENG and PENGASSN accused the federal government of totally disregarding due process and failing to engage stakeholders before carrying out the action. Following the federal government's decision to unbundle the NNPC, angry oil workers shut down all offices and facilities in protest of the action. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiko, says the Nigerian government has not yet unbundled the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. According to him, what the corporation did was merely reorganization. The minister was speaking on the development at the oil sector after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council in Abuja. Earlier this week, he said President Muhammad Buhari had approved the unbundling of the NNPC into 7 independent units. The units are the upstream, downstream, gas and power marketing, refineries and ventures, corporate planning and services and finance, and also accounts. Each of the units would be headed by chief executive officers. President Muhammad Buhari has appointed Dakuku Peterside as the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. Peterside was a governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in the last election held in Rivers State. His appointment was confirmed on Thursday morning. He is also expected to resume office immediately. South Africa President Jacob Zuma has left Nigeria after a 2-day state visit. During that visit, the president held bilateral talks with Nigerian President Muhammad Buhari, discussing wide-ranging issues to help boost relationship between the two countries. After a meeting between both leaders, Nigeria's President Muhammad Buhari restated the importance of a good relationship between African countries.
This year, in our sub-region, we have another 5 elections. Currently, Benin and Niger, both neighbors are on. And Chad is going on, I think, next month also. So there is a lot of work politically, economically. Again, it involves security. South Africa have done their long fighting. They are enjoying relative security. We are now fighting terrorism, modern terrorism that has no borders. Coupled with that, we have economic challenges, which South Africa is acutely aware of. Besides, internationally, we like to demand through the international community, applying to their questions, that Africa deserves a place in the Security Council of the United Nations. We are more than 1 billion people in Africa. In spite of state of development, in terms of economy and security, we deserve to be recognized and invited to that body. We are grateful for South African recognition of our partnership in trying to promote the relevance of Africa in world politics and economics. We are grateful for this visit and agreement signed in 1999 and 2013. We are determined to make them much more relevant by meeting at the highest level at least once a year and going over what our council, respective council or ministers have been able to achieve.
President Zuma also emphasized the need for a partnership between South Africa and Niger to improve the situation in both countries.
We have noted with satisfaction the ever-growing cooperation in many sectors, including trade and investment, defense and security, immigration matters, energy, mineral resources, to mention but a few. We have recognized the important role played by the South Africa-Nigeria Binational Commission since its inception in 1999, as we forge a strategic partnership between the two state nations. We have decided to elevate the Binational Commission to the level of the heads of states. In this way, my brother and I will be able to lead as well as monitor progress in various areas of cooperation. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, our two countries have signed over 30 bilateral agreements and memoranda of understanding. These agreements cover a wide range of cooperation areas, including trade and industry, transport, energy, defense, and security, and immigration, among others. We have directed the relevant ministers to move with speed in implementing all signed agreements. We have also directed our ministers to identify joint projects in the key high-impact strategic development areas, which will have socio-economic benefits, such as employment creation to our peoples. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome the increased economic cooperation and trade relations between our two countries over the past decade. Nigeria is South Africa's key trading partner on the continent. Prior to 1999, there were only 4 South African companies in Nigeria. Since 1999, the situation has changed dramatically. Over 120 companies are currently doing business in Nigeria in various sectors, mainly telecommunications, banking, retail, property, entertainment, and hospitality. We welcome this significant development.
Still on President Zuma's visit to Nigeria, the South African leader says his government will do all it can to return the money seized by South Africa during the Goodluck Jonathan regime. He said the Nigerian and South African governments have joined efforts as relevant structures were already recovering some of the loot. In September 2014, a private jet containing $9.3 million cash was seized by South African government. The money, which was allegedly smuggled into South Africa by 2 Nigerians and an Israeli, was meant for the purchase of arms for the Nigerian government.
Well, with regard to the things that were either confiscated or went to South Africa unknown, etc., the two governments are working on those matters. The relevant structures are working on it. There are some that have been discovered and recovered, but there are some that the necessary departments are doing investigation. We would certainly appreciate if we succeed in recovering all other issues that, or all other things that would be in South Africa illegal, so that they would be returned back. On the second question of xenophobia, as you know, it's absolutely an unfortunate thing because all Africans are the same. The fact that colonialists drew borders and made us to think we are different, we are the same Africans. And that has been our view in South Africa in addressing the unfortunate incidents of xenophobia. And we believe we have dealt with these issues and we are talking about it all the time. And we need this kind of interaction among countries as we are interacting at this level with Nigeria. We would like our people in both countries and other countries to realize that we are the same. We have the same objectives, same interests. We have the same kind of destination as Africans. With regard to things that could have been destroyed during that time, I'm sure that is a matter that the relevant departments will be dealing with, particularly if people have reported what happened. We know that during the attacks, a number of articles were taken by people, as it always happens when there is a conflict, but we hope that people could identify and indicate. Then I'm sure the collaboration of how to solve those problems will certainly be found.
The trial of Nigeria's former Defense Chief Alex Bade continued at the Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday. Bade is one of the former military chiefs indicted by the committee established by President Muhammadu Buhari to order the procurement of arms in the armed forces and defense sector from 2007 till 2015. At resumed hearing, counsel to the EFCC, Rotimi Jacobs, asked the court not to grant the accused bail. According to Jacobs, Bade is at flight risk because of the evidence presented against him. One of such evidence is the alleged $1 million found in the bedroom of his Abuja mansion. He's already facing a 10-count charge for crimes bordering on money laundering. Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun says about 11,000 potential ghost workers have again been identified in the payroll of the Nigerian federal government and are now being investigated. This discovery comes weeks after 23,000 ghost workers were discovered in February, saving the federal government 2.29 billion naira in salary. According to Adeosun, this disclosure was made possible by the routine audit of all ministries, agencies and parastatals as ordered by President Muhammadu Buhari. A federal high court in Abuja has adjourned the trial of Biafran leader Nnamdi Kanu till April 5th following an application for a stay of proceedings filed by his counsel. At the last hearing on Monday, the court approved the application of the federal government asking the court to protect its witnesses during the trial. However, on Wednesday, counsel to Kanu, Chuks Muhammad, told the court that he has filed a motion for stay of proceedings, having filed an appeal against that ruling. Nnamdi Kanu has been charged with treasonable felony, maintaining an unlawful society, and illegal possession of items. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll look at business and sports stories. Stay tuned.
Hello, you're welcome. You're watching the Funny White Man Show, which is the biggest, the brightest, and the most entertaining show in Africa.
Funny white man, funny white man, funny white man, but this way you talk, it's too much. Give me 5,000 man, that's you. It's too much. So you get it like, make you move along the street. Yeah, me should like, I'm going girl. You know, my own people, actually.
Yeah, fine. It's fun. I enjoy it, and I'm one of those very few. I'm forever taking it personal. I will say 160 million Nigerians are corrupt. How? My brother, I'm looking for you.
Yeah, but it's a growth, and this is the time to build business. I know the pitfalls, I know what to do and what not to do. But there are months where you get business and months.
You know how we do, how we train them. We do the way they do.
Hello, you welcome. You watching Trending Matters on the Funny White Man Show. Of course, they will bring you trending issues just to entertain and tickle your fancy.
Welcome back. You're watching TV360 News now. The federal government has asked the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to conduct a full-scale investigation and prosecute anyone involved in any form of malpractice in the foreign exchange market. Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami said several measures have been put in place by the anti-graft agency to curb any criminal activities of persons and banks involved in such practices within and outside the country. Nigeria's naira has remained weak against the dollar on the parallel market, trading above 300. The official interbank rate, however, remains at 197 to the dollar. Power generation in Nigeria has dropped to 1,580 megawatts. This is according to electricity officials. This has led to the current blackouts presently being experienced in some parts of the country for the past 3 days. The Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN, attribute the decrease in power generation to a partial system collapse at Shiroro Dam in Niger State and the activities of pipeline vandals in the Niger Delta region. Business tycoon Aliko Dangote has urged the federal government to come up with suitable policies that will aid the diversification of the Nigerian economy. He said this is the right time for government to create factual policies, especially as the price of oil, Nigeria's main income, had fallen drastically.
This is the right moment. I know as in Nigeria, once the oil gets back to $80, nobody will diversify. We'll go back to our same misbehavior. And I think this is the right opportunity for us to do. But government should be very specific, come out with clear policies with support. And also the implementation has to be monitored and also, give a support of, okay, how do we, diversify the economy. If we don't do it now, we will never do it, and that's what we need to do. But lower oil prices does not mean a doom. In 1998, up to 99, the price of oil was $9. So what you need to do is just to block the holes and also make sure that you have that policy of diversification. Even if that's what we'll achieve, it's good for us.
Nigeria's Minister of Trade and Investment, Okechukwu Enelama, has identified some of the challenges facing the country as it seeks to rebuild its economy. While expressing optimism that the Nigerian economy can be restored, the minister said the challenges must first be addressed. The minister, Nigeria's Africa's top oil exporter, has been experiencing an economic crisis in the past year following the drop in oil prices.
I think the challenge is the challenge of implementation, and I will explain what I mean by that. I've noticed that some of these things are easier said than done. So take, for instance, when we talk about the partnership that should exist between the public sector and the private sector. We actually need to do more work to engage the private sector, to work with us to create the capacity, to implement the policies of government in a way that is business friendly, and in a way that gets the intended results, as opposed to a few people, like interfering with those results. So I call it the challenge of implementation. Now, obviously, when you start breaking down the challenge of implementation, you get into things like capacity, how much capacity you have in government, and that's why I say you have to bring in capacity outside. You get into things like incentives, and frankly, what you might even call perverse incentives, which is where people have incentives to, maybe have roadblocks, right? Because maybe they benefit from it one way or the other. And all those sort of things are things we need to dismantle and overcome if we're going to achieve our goals. But I would say the biggest challenge we face is actually around infrastructure. And as you know, this government has made a commitment that we will steadily and sustainably invest in infrastructure, 30% of the budget of government. But that is nowhere near enough. So we also need to attract private capital. So one of our policy thrusts is partnering with private capital for infrastructure. We also need to talk finally about soft infrastructure, which is building institutions, rule of law, property rights, and things like ease of doing business. We also need to do those things, and I think if we do that, I always say water doesn't run uphill in Nigeria. You'll find that we'll be like other nations, we'll achieve very good results.
Moving on to oil prices dipped on Thursday after hitting 3-month highs this week. This came as analysts warned that larger gains would be unwarranted as the global glut continues. Brent crude was at $40.71 per barrel, while U.S. crude was trading down 14 cents at $38.15 a barrel. Oil prices have risen by around 25% since Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Venezuela and non-OPEC exporter Russia said they would lift supply at January levels if there was enough support from other oil producers. In what could be described as the biggest breakthrough in the fight against terrorism, a cache of documents containing the personal information of 22,000 ISIS jihadists in Syria and Iraq have been retrieved. The information was gotten by UK intelligence officials after disgruntled recruits stole the memory card of ISIS leader. In the documents, names, nationalities, addresses, telephone numbers, family contacts, and even blood type of the recruits can be found. ISIS also alleges in the document that it's recruiting from many countries including Syria, Iraq, Tunisia, Libya, France, and also Germany. Moving on to sports, Golden Eaglets captain Kelechi Nwakali has confirmed his transfer to Premier League side Arsenal. There had been reports last month that the 17-year-old had been snapped up by the London side on a 5-year contract. The Nigerian has now confirmed his decision to join his boyhood club despite interest from other sides. Nwakali was captain of the Nigerian Under-17 national team, which won the country its 5th Under-17 World Cup in Chile in 2015. Maria Sharapova has written a message to her fans thanking them for their loyalty in the wake of a recent drug scandal. The IAAF had provisionally suspended Sharapova after the 28-year-old admitted she had failed a drug test at the Australian Open due to the substance she was taking for health issues. In her defense, Sharapova says she didn't realize the drugs she had been using for over 10 years was declared a banned substance by WADA on January 1st, 2016. Despite the revelation and the suspension that followed, the Russian has received support from sports world, most notably her greatest rival Serena Williams and Russian sports minister Vitaly Motko. Her suspension takes effect from March 12, 2016. Well, we've come to the end of news now. We thank you very much for watching. I am Thelma Okoro.